saw a news article about how at a funeral a dead man came back to life and began to speak as if nothing had happened, what would you do? Would you pass it over and not think about it? Absolutely not. You would want to learn more and see what the situation was. I'm fairly certain it would be trending on Twitter. So why, when we read in the Bible of a story the exact same thing, do we say, oh, cool, and move on? Because they're short, or because it doesn't seem to matter anymore? What is it about the little stories in the Bible that makes them unnoticeable? Maybe we expect when we do something for God, there to be fireworks, popcorn, and applause. Would you look at some stories with me and see them as stories that tell of our Lord's compassion and mercy? Luke 7, verse 12. As he, Jesus, approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. A large crowd from the town was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up and touched the bier, that's the coffin, and they were carrying him on, and he sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. The words that stick out to me are, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. During this time, it meant that the woman had no income at all. Nothing was going for her. She was a woman with no one to provide for her, and Jesus, in his compassion, gave the son back to her. I also want to introduce to you another woman that I didn't know existed until I began studying for Bible Bowl, which is my favorite part of LTC. Now presenting Joanna, wife of Chesa, mentioned twice in the Bible, both in the book of Luke. Luke 8, verse 2. Some women who had been cured of evil spirits and diseases: Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out; Joanna, wife of Chesa, the manager of Herod's household; Susanna, and many others. These women were helping to support them out of their own means. These women took care of Jesus' needs while he was on earth out of their own pocket. But why did I introduce to you Joanna instead of Susanna or even Mary Magdalene? For the sake of the other time that she is mentioned. In Luke 24, we learn about Jesus' resurrection, and of the women of the tomb, Joanna is there. Isn't that an awesome reward? She got to be one of the first people to see Jesus was alive. Finally, there's another woman who could have lost it all, but never gave up hope. She is pretty spectacular, but we never even get her name. Her story is mentioned in passing, and no one gives her much thought. And there was a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the people in the crowd are pressing in on you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me, for I know that power has gone out from me." Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, she came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." That's Luke 8, verse 43 through 48. I know you know the story, but would you give it some thought? This woman wouldn't have been able to see or touch her family for 12 years. She was poor in wealth, but rich enough in hope to think that all she had to do was touch the edge of Jesus' robe, and then, boom, she was healed. An hour later, on the way home, a week next Thursday, no, immediately. How cool is that? The widow gave up her son, if only for a little while. Joanna surrendered her earthly wealth to further a heavenly reward, or a heavenly cause, and boy did she get rewarded. The bleeding woman used an ounce of faith and a sprinkle of hope and got to experience a life she thought she would never have again. Give it up. Give it all up. And if you don't see how in the world anything could turn all right, remember that the widow saw her only means of earthly income die. Joanna was there at the cross, and the bleeding woman suffered for 12 years. Look to the little stories of the Bible. They might be the ones who gave it the most.